That was when I was a college student. At the time, I was living alone in a cheap apartment in the countryside. There is a small park on the road from the nearest station to my house, and one day, as the sun was beginning to set a little, I crossed the park and saw a child. I strangely felt curious. I don't know why it bothered me. The child's outfit was plain and simple, but when I saw him, he was crouched in the sandbox and looked as if he was sobbing. However, I didn't hear any voices despite the child crying, so I began to wonder a little about what the child was doing. The park has 2 entrances and exits, and as I entered the park, I walked toward the other entrance. From the other doorway, I could see the front of the child, so I decided that if the child was crying, I would help him, and if he was just playing in the sandbox, I would leave the park as is. Then I came to the doorway on the other side and glanced over at the child, but immediately regretted it. The distance between me and the child is roughly 3 yards. Having said that, it is far away. I turned to the front and witnessed a child munching on a bug. The child grabbed the bug like a praying mantis or grasshopper in each hand and munched and chewed as if he were a gourmand with a mouthful of food. In addition, there was an insect cage at the child's feet with a lot of bugs in it, probably caught by the child himself. I looked at it and worried about parasitosis, but when I saw the lifeless, black, unfocused eyes of the child, I didn't feel like paying attention. I know this kind of thing is not supposed to be good, but my instincts were telling me that it was a bad idea to get involved with this child. I huffed and puffed to catch my breath, unknowingly nervous as my feet quickened and I exited the park, sweating a lot. I will refrain from passing by that park for a while, I decided. However, on my way home the next day, I was walking down a residential street, one street off my way home, when I somehow found yesterday's child crouched in a little wide open space on the roadside. I recognized him immediately, perhaps because he was dressed like the child I saw yesterday. I resent the fact that there are no pedestrians or cars on the street at these times. I wondered if I should shift one street to go around, but at this point I felt I could handle it by walking on the opposite sidewalk. However, as I passed the child, I couldn't help but care for the child, so I looked up at the curved mirror in front of me, and in the mirror I saw the child eating a bug, as I guessed. When I turned around to check, I was horrified to witness the same child as yesterday, pulling bugs out of the insect cage and chewing on them with both hands. I quickly looked away and ran from the place and scratched my head. What the hell is that thing? It's bad, right? At all. I have some understanding of entomology, but that kid is catching and eating bugs from all over the place, no matter what I think. I thought that such a person could not be normal. The next day, I decided to take the bus. The nearest bus stop was only a short distance past my home, so I did not usually use it. But I did not want to get involved with that kid, so I had no choice but to use it for the first time in a long time. In the evening, when I get off at the bus stop and walk for a while, there is a house with a large parking lot on the corner before entering a residential area. I remembered that a large car was parked there, but unfortunately, no car was parked there today, and instead, the child was crouching with his back to me. I said, "What?" I instantly covered my mouth because my voice was unexpectedly loud. Fortunately, the child did not react to me, but from the way he was shaking his shoulders in small increments, I could easily imagine that he was eating some bugs again. As expected, after the third time, I silently passed behind the child as if I had gotten a little used to it. But I wondered why this child appeared in my path every time. Are you stalking me by any chance? With these thoughts in my mind, I glanced at the child with the side of his glance and saw that the child was vigorously eating insects again today. Then, although I should have just stopped, I ended up saying one unnecessary word. Disgusting. I was surprised at the one word I carelessly spilled. At that moment, I was surprised twice, as the child's chewing sound stopped with a snap, and he turned his head to look at me. I mean, the child's head was turned at an impossible angle. It was impossible. We froze each other for a while as if we had encountered a bear, but when the child tried to stand up quickly, I rushed away. I ran as fast as I could, and when I arrived home, I ran out of energy and collapsed at the door. Seriously, what is with that kid? The more I thought about it, the more I couldn't make sense of the child. Maybe that's why I had a dream that night about that child, and I jumped out of bed once in the middle of the night. The content of the dream is that I am sleeping at home and I hear a crackling sound coming from somewhere. So I walk around the room in the dream as if I am looking for the source of the sound. In my dream, I opened the front door, and on the other side of the door was that child, and I woke up when the child opened his mouth vertically wide like a cartoon character. It was a creepy dream. I was sweating a lot and my sheets were soaked. To wet my throat, I head to the fridge and refill my glass full of water. At that time, I heard a crunching sound coming from somewhere. Having braced reflexively, I put on the cup and tried to listen. When I searched for the source of the sound, I realized that it was coming from outside the front door, apparently from the front porch side, exactly as if I was reenacting a dream. That means that behind this door is that child, and the moment I open it, he opens his mouth wide like a dream. And what about me? Such anxiety and fear give me goosebumps, but my body is drawn against my will and I start walking towards the front door. However, when I lost my balance on a step between the kitchen and the front door, I stepped down in a prone position and accidentally brought the door scope into view. I thought that if I looked out the door scope, I might be fine. Although I felt strangely lighter, perhaps because I had misstepped on a step, my impulse was completely tinged with curiosity, and I really wanted to see outside. I am afraid to open the door, but I'm dying to see what's out there. I gasp and quietly look through the door scope. I was convinced that it was the sound of that child chewing a bug. And when I looked outside my front door through the doorscope, I saw a child crouched in front of my house, still illuminated by the outside lights. As I stare through the doorscope, the child stops chewing, stands up quickly, and looks up at the doorscope. However, the backlighting does not allow me to see the child's expressions. Regardless, I heard my own heartbeat pulsing with a thud. Perhaps I should not look at this child's face properly. I tell myself such an obvious thing over and over again, but I opened the door. In hindsight, I may have been obsessed with that child at that time. When I opened the door, the child was standing, facing me. After a while of being frozen motionless with each other, I became numb and was about to say, when the child's mouth gaped open and attacked me. It was large enough to swallow my head whole. Then I saw a mirror of the dark but wriggling bugs huddled together in the back of his mouth, and I instantly fainted. When I awoke from my faint, it was the next morning. A woman who lived in the same apartment went out to take out the trash and found me lying on my back with the front door open. At first, she almost passed spit, thinking it was a murder case. But when she peeked in fearfully, she saw that I was alive because she could saw my chest expanding and saw my breathing in my sleep, and she shook me awake. I thanked the woman and faked that I had too much to drink last night and could not remember, because I knew I would only be looked at oddly if I told a story of last night about a child who didn't know if it was a dream or reality. And strangely enough, from that day on, I never saw that child on the street. I still don't know what that child was, but this is the story of what I experienced, and I am not sure if it was a dream or reality.